This week, I've been behind the wheel of Cadillac's entry-level crossover SUV. This is the 2024 Cadillac XT4 Sport all-wheel drive. Now, Cadillac have made some significant improvements to the XT4, but the question is it enough to make you want to buy one now? Let's find out. So up first, let's take a look at what is powering this Cadillac XT4. We have a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine that's going to give us 235 horsepower, 258 pound-feet of torque. We're also paired here with a 9-speed automatic transmission, and of course, since it was in the title, we get all-wheel drive. So starting off first up front with the Cadillac XT4, we have some elements that have been borrowed from the Cadillac Escalade. And of course, why would you not borrow it? Because that car looks really good. So some things that are very important to note is when I showed you the XT5, this chin here was a bit longer. Now they've kind of tucked in this black grille, which looks really good with this white paint. Now, another thing you'll notice that is Escalade-esque is these daytime running LEDs, how they kind of ride up the side here, very nice, as well as our main headlight bulb, which does have automatic high beams. Then we also get a blacked out Cadillac badge with a front-facing camera, as well as a bunch of parking sensors, because we do have a 360-degree camera on board here. Now, overall for the front end, this is probably like one of the biggest changes that you're gonna notice until we get into the interior, but I am a big fan of it. I think it looks way more modern, way more elegant, sleek, and way more sporty here in the front. So let's move on to the rest. So next up, of course, we are onto the side profile for our Cadillac XT4, and you can see that not much has changed here on the side, really. So I'll point out the things that I enjoy or that I've liked having this week, and then we'll just get right onto it. First of all, I think the bigger rims that come with this, these are 20-inch rims, look way better than the standard rims that come with it. I think if you're gonna option it, go for those. Now, we also do get a camera underneath my mirror, and I get nice turn signal LEDs. I like that there's not really any chrome here. It's very nice that there's black everywhere. Mixes really well with my color. So you'll see as well that there is no chrome here. There is just black. I also have a nice Cadillac badge here. Then I have 4 buttons on all of the doors to one-touch unlock them all, and it's a physical button, so it's unlikely to crap out on you in the winter. So last but certainly not least, we are out back with the Cadillac XT4 Sport. You'll notice we have these tail lights that are slightly redesigned, and they do look better. Matter of fact, this entire rear end looks better. We're gonna start off up top here. We have this little spoiler thing that kind of hides our rear wiper, which is going to be excellent to have in the winter. Then we have a camera here for our digital rear view camera. Then I also have a 350T badge here, my blacked out Cadillac logo, and we have the XT4 and all-wheel drive badges as well. Then a little bit lower, we have functioning exhaust. These are not fake, so that is nice to see. Now we also have, of course, the parking sensors and a backup camera as well. Now let's take a look at the trunk space. Push the button underneath the logo, it pops for me, and of course it is automatic, so of course that is expected to see, and I'm glad we have it. So let's talk about trunk space. I think there is plenty of trunk space for me, fits my baby stroller, fits the needs that I have as a new parent. I also have some storage underneath my floor. I could fold my seats down back here and have a ton of room. I also like that we have this privacy screen back here that will kind of fold and open as the trunk does. We also have 2 LED lights so that if you're putting stuff in your trunk at night, you can see it, and we have a couple of tie-down points as well. Overall, a lot of space, very usable, no complaints. So next up, we are sitting in the backseat of the Cadillac XT4 Sport, and I have just about enough legroom. I'm 5'11" sitting here. This is my driver profile. My knees are just starting to push into the back of the seat here, but it's not uncomfortable. Now, the seating position I still think is relatively comfortable. I have just enough headroom where I'm almost just touching the top of my head, but not quite. So for me, my size, no big complaints. Now, I also have 2 heated seats with 3 levels of heating, and I don't have any climate control back here, but I do have some vents. And I also have USB-C and USB-A, so we're getting the best of both worlds when it comes to technology back here. We also have this that's going to fold down. It acts as an armrest, and you get your cup holders for the back seat. So as you know, I became a new dad, and I can tell you that for the Cadillac XT4, my baby seems to enjoy the car, and also the baby seat fits perfectly fine. I've got the mirror and I've got her car seat attachment right here. Perfectly good for new families. So next up, we're sitting in the business end of the Cadillac XT4 Sport, and this is where you're going to notice the biggest refresh. I have these two screens that look like one. They're excellent quality, really big, so let's go over them first. First up, I have my fully digital gauge cluster that I have a couple of different themes that I can choose. I have a touchscreen on my left-hand side here where I can choose the Google integrated maps. This is a Google integrated system, so that will be very nice to have. Say you just want a clean gauge cluster display, you can click the clean button and it's literally just the speed and what gear you're in and gas, and that's it. But I like to go with the most detail possible so I can see what content is playing, and I can also see my fuel economy in real time. Now, the gauge cluster will also change once I put it into sport mode. It changes to a more sporty gauge, and I think it's cool. Now let's move over to our digital infotainment display. This is very responsive, and I think it looks really nice to the eyes. It's very good to look at night. Again, Google built in. So what are the things that we can do? I can access my Google Maps from here, of course. I have my access to the 360-degree camera. I can set up my Wi-Fi hotspot in here. I can check my vehicle status, things like tire pressure, oil pressure, and everything in between. I also have wireless CarPlay and wired Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. I have a Google Assistant built in. I also have an Apple Podcast screen as well as Google News, things that are going to be nice for people who like to maybe listen to the news on your morning drive. Now, one thing I want to note for the Apple CarPlay, I only have experience with Apple CarPlay. I don't have an Android phone to plug into the car, but when you plug in your Apple CarPlay, it doesn't give you the full screen. I'll include a couple of B-roll shots to show you what I mean, but when I'm in an app, say Spotify, it doesn't take up my entire screen. It just takes up like a portion of it, and then the rest is like an Apple background. I found it weird. The screen is so nice, they could have gotten away with just using the full thing. So next, let's move on to my seats. I have a bunch of lumbar control as well as a massage seat for my driver's seat and as well as the passenger. And that's nice because it's something we don't see on a lot of luxury vehicles. Most of the time, they just focus on the driver. It's nice to see the passenger get some love here too. I also have heated seats and ventilated seats for my driver, myself, and the passenger as well. Great things to have. Now let's talk about the steering wheel. The steering feel here is very good. I do have some sporty flappy paddles here. I also have my cruise control. My heated steering button is here too. Can control my media from here as well. It's very good feeling. It doesn't cut the screen off. You do have to adjust it to your seating so that it actually doesn't cut your screen off because it is in that spot where it could. I also have this nice wood trim that goes from the front to the back. It's a dark wood and it looks really good inside the car. Adds to the luxurious feel. So does this brown leather all across my dashboard. And then I also have my HVAC controls. Everything's really laid out, really simple to use, and very easy to understand. And there's a little screen for my temperature controls, and I like the animation on it. Then just a bit lower than that, I have USB-C as well as USB-A, so that you can plug your phone in there. Then I have the normal Cadillac shifter that we've seen on almost every Cadillac I've shown you in the past. And then I also have this little knob. This little knob, I can control my touchscreen with it by not having to actually touch it. But usually the touchscreen is close enough to me that I'm actually using the touchscreen, and I've actually stopped using this little scroll wheel. Then just around the scroll wheel, I have manual volume control and a bunch of quick access buttons for my maps and stuff like that. I've got my drive mode button here. I've got a sport mode, a normal mode, and a off-road mode. 2 cup holders as well, a little bit of storage, as well as in here I get a wireless charger. So that's gonna do it for our interior tour of the Cadillac XT4. Let's get it on the road. All right, so now we're on the road with the Cadillac XT4 Sport, and it does definitely feel a little bit sporty, but I want to start with talking about some of the convenience features that I have. So if I stop on the side of the road here and I decide I'm going to get out of the car, well, Cadillac has a system that's going to tell me that there's an object approaching and to not open the door. An object, obviously meaning a car or a cyclist, something like that. I really like that little feature, and I really like that I could just pop my massage chair on while I'm talking to you guys, while I'm, even if you're driving fast, slow, it's just nice, especially like when you're driving on road trips and stuff like that. It's gonna be really nice to have. Now, I also have the package that allows me to have adaptive cruise control, stuff like that, lane keep assist, that's all an add-on, it's all an addition, it's all a package. So make sure when you're configuring this thing that you get the packages that you want. I have every single package that you could want on this Cadillac, and I think I have every single package that's actually available to me on my Cadillac here. So you're gonna wanna make sure though that if you really want the fully loaded, the sport trim in Canada is the top of the line, but there is packages that you can add and take away. So just keep that in mind when you're configuring it. I don't want people to get confused. So since this is the sport, let's give it some beams and see, is it performance at all? Let's go. You know, not bad. Really not bad. The engine actually sounds pretty good. Now, if you were to want more power, say a bigger engine, this is only a turbocharged 4-cylinder. It's around $64,000 is tested price. I think that's competitive. I think that's solid. I think I have more than enough in here to justify that price, especially when you look at all the the materials the Cadillac is using. Other than these plastic flappy paddles, I think that everything else is premium quality, feels very nice. So I can't hate that. Also, when I'm in sport mode, like the steering wheel kind of stiffens off a little bit, not very much, just a tiny bit more. I almost don't notice it that much. You really have to be looking for it. But you know, this car is meant to cruise around, so I can just switch back to my normal mode, which is usually where I am. I'm not taking this car and driving it on the track. I'll probably take this car to the track to watch other cars, but that's not the point. My point is that it's so easy to drive and it's so comfortable when you're doing it. Like I think the suspension is tuned in such a sweet spot that I'm not bouncing around a lot, but I'm also not feeling the huge potholes that are on my Quebec roads here. I just think it's very good. I like my seating position. I like my visibility. I think that's nice to have. And we also get this digital rear view mirror, which I will always turn on. It works really well at nighttime as well. It's pretty good. You can see enough of the road and the people behind you and the headlights behind you. So yeah, I will always go with the camera if I can ever get one. I also got a heads-up display, which will show me, like, if I have my Google Maps giving me directions, I will have that there. I also use my Google Maps system just to see, and I do find it very convenient. If you're in a new area, or say, like, I don't drive to downtown Montreal very often, but say I needed to with this car, I'm going to put that GPS on instead of using my Apple CarPlay, which is big. You know, I feel like integrated things into the vehicle are just better off, because I can't pull the directions into my gauge cluster when I'm using Apple CarPlay. I can only do that when I use the car. But it's good enough, like, because I'm a Google Maps user, so it's good enough. I could actually turn on Google Maps right natively in the car, and I just think that that's really cool. So a little touch on fuel economy. I think I've done about 200 or 300 kilometers by this point in the week, and I am averaging 11.9 liters per 100 kilometers. If I was a V6, I don't think I would be getting that good fuel economy. I can't remember what it was in the XT5, but I think that, you know, for a little 4-cylinder turbo, and I haven't really been ripping it too much, I think that's pretty good. I think that's a nice number to hit. So overall, is it enough to consider it now? Like, if you didn't like the look before, because personally, I like the look of the XT5 and the old, we'll call it the old one, the last generation Cadillac, you know, the old look. I did like it, but it wasn't enough to be like, ooh, that really grabs my eye. Now I think it's right in that sweet spot where it's going to grab a lot of people's eyes, because we have screens now. I always say the screens sell. And now we have like the sleeker looking outside. They've borrowed some elements from the Escalade, which obviously will make things a lot more appealing to our broader audience. I don't know, I feel like now is the time to get it. I think this is the nicest XT4 that Cadillac has ever made. I think it's a welcome refresh, a warranted refresh. It needed it, and I'm glad that we have it. And I think potential buyers will be very happy to have it as well, because again, that price point is pretty competitive in the luxury segment. So there you go. There's the answer to the question at the beginning of the video. Is it enough to make you want one? Well, it certainly is enough to make me want one. But let me know in the comments what you think. Is it enough? You still think it's too expensive? Do you think it's too slow? Maybe you're gonna go with the XT5 and get the V6 engine. Let me know in the comments. I really wanna know what you think. Other people who own older generation Cadillacs, let us know about reliability, maintenance cost, all that stuff. Unfortunately, that's something I can't tell you because I only own them for a week. So with that being said, That's gonna do it. Make sure you subscribe here on PRN. Turn on the bell notifications because YouTube will not. If you press subscribe lately, it is not enough if you wanna see our content. You gotta put the bell notifications on so you get a notification to wherever you are, email, phone, whatever it is. You'll know when we post, so you can actually click the video from there and watch us, because we've got a ton of different cars, different trims, different cars, different everything coming up here in the summer. It's only gonna get better from here, so you're gonna wanna stay tuned. And with that being said, I will see you in the next week. See you in the next car. Take care.